Hello, and thank you for watching this episode of my video series, How to Do It All, One Mom's Guide to Living Your Dreams and Achieving Your Goals Right Where You Are. So this is episode 9 in the series, and today's episode is entitled A Match Made in Heaven. So what that is, we'll get into. So there are some habits that, no matter how much we may desire or even enjoy them, are simply difficult to begin and maintain. Some goals that, for whatever reason, we might struggle to find the motivation and the momentum for. So I talked a little bit last time about how I was able to incorporate my children into my exercise routine. And exercise is a perfect example of what I'm talking about here. It's something that I know is important and that I really do want to do, and it makes me feel good while I'm exercising and afterwards. And yet I've never, until recently, been able to maintain it consistently over a long period of time. I've had many stops and starts saying I'm going to start working out. You do it for a few weeks, fizzle out, etc., etc. But there are a few things I've begun implementing that have helped me quite a bit. So if it's a day that I know I won't have a good chance to work out while my kids are up, like if I know we have to go somewhere early in the morning, something along those lines, or sometimes even if I just want to mix things up, I will take a walk instead of doing my normal workout with them. And I'll use it as an opportunity to get out in nature, or I'll save a favorite podcast to listen to while I'm doing my walk. So all of these are examples of the technique I want to talk about in today's episode, which is pairing. So what is pairing? And that's P-A-I-R, like a pair, things that go together. So pairing is the practice of combining a desired habit with something that you already enjoy and can look forward to help provide the motivation to build and continue this habit. It's a way to factor a reward into the routine itself. And our brains really like rewards. You may have noticed this. So my favorite example of this for myself is reading. Now, unlike exercise, every part of me really does love reading. I always have. For my whole childhood and young adulthood, I was a voracious reader, and I just couldn't get enough of books. Then actual adulthood came along, and my reading really stalled. At one point, shortly after I had my first child, I looked back at my reading history, which I keep track of via Goodreads, and I saw that my book count, just how low my book count had been for the past few years. I looked at my bookshelves loaded with so many books that I truly wanted to read, and my compulsive book buying meant that volumes were continually being added to that list. So I decided to read more. And while I did, it was haphazard still. I would read a lot sometimes and less other times, and I found it I found it stressful to try to reach yearly reading goals. Like, there was just still not quite where I wanted it to be. And there were a few reasons that I couldn't seem to be consistent with it when I originally tried. So for one, there was no official routine or time slot for my reading. It was just a sort of whenever I have time kind of thing, which of course never seemed to happen organically. There also seemed to be too much else to do on any given day to set aside time to read. Also, I felt like if I was going to read, I needed like an hour or two to sit down and do it. And that kind of time slot is just completely missing in my life where I am right now. And also the lack of reading over the past years had actually made reading harder for me. I'm convinced that the reading part of my brain had truly atrophied. Focusing on the written word was noticeably more difficult, and I found it so much easier to just watch something or scroll social media. So my solution? A chocolate yogurt shake. So there's a particular drink that I learned to make a few years ago, and that I had gotten a little addicted to at this point. Okay, maybe more than a little. I mean, I actually had nightmares one time about not being able to find the required yogurt at the grocery store. So let that tell you what the situation was. So the drink simply consists of plain yogurt, some sort of milk, cocoa powder, stevia, and just a few stevia chocolate chips blended with ice until smooth and then sipped through an unreasonably large straw. But like I said, I was obsessed. It was a guilt-free, chocolatey treat that provided some extra protein. What's not to love? So I'd already gotten into the habit of blending up this smoothie every afternoon after the babies went down for a nap. So why not, I thought, use the time spent drinking it to read rather than to watch TV or zone out on my phone. The time was available, even if not extensive, and drinking through a straw is really easy to do while you're reading. So I have actually maintained this pairing of habits over the past few years at this point. At first, I would just stop reading as soon as I got to the bottom of the shake. But I was really surprised how much I got read with just that small slot of daily time. And I easily surpassed 50 books that year just doing that. And as I read more, it became easier to focus again, and my hunger for books grew back to its previous monstrous size. So my time for reading plus shake is now the highlight of every day. I read over 100 books the year before last and the year before that, 95 books last year, and I'm on track to hopefully read quite a few this year as well. And I now often read far beyond the time it takes me to drink the concoction, but just that pairing remains a valuable anchor to my routine. The babies go down, I make my shake, settle down with my current read to devour a few chapters before getting back to work. So, your turn now. Is there a habit that you're struggling to begin or maintain? Something really important to you that even if you do like it or, again, find it important in theory, you're just having trouble really forming as a habit. And then 2, is there something simple you enjoy, like a specific snack, a podcast you like to listen to, even a favorite chair or a candle that you can light, like something, it can be very small, something you really, truly just purely enjoy. And so then think, how can you pair the habit with the reward to create a rhythm that will be easier and more pleasant to incorporate in your daily routine? And you can just kind of go through your list of goals with this and maybe also make another list of just these simple pleasures, things that you can look forward to in the day, and see which of these sort of little simple joys you can match up with some of these habits that you want to build. So that has just been so valuable for me, and I wanted to share it with all of you. So thank you all so much for tuning in this time. Next time I'm going to be talking about letting things go, which may sound counterintuitive, but it's a very important part of my journey. So thank you all so much.